aliniambia ninunue kuku kwa sababu I wanted more money. Kuku jogoo nikanunua. Then it drew the blood from the chicken and put in my system and took mine and the chicken, and they told me to throw the chicken away. A concoction that this witch doctor made and gave us to drink. I don't know, but later on I was made to understand that it was a mixture of mwili za wafu, sijui, na hizo mahali watu wanazikwa, hizo mchanga ya kaburi. Yeah, alafu ana blend na mfupa za wafu, alafu anaziblend. Alinichanja. I don't know how to say that. Kwa mgongo mzima, nikawekewa madawa zingine, kwa mwili. So
nilikuwa anadunga na sindano.
Yeah, na chanjwa.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of My Story. Our guest today, Carol, had a thriving career, properties, name it all. But her life took a drastic change upon meeting the love of her life, who initiated her into things that she couldn't understand, that made her life become a living nightmare. My name is Njerumasi and this is the story of Caroline Nyanga. Hi, Carol.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
You're fine?
I'm fine.
Thank you for gracing our screens today.
Thank you so much. I'm humbled. Yes.
So looking at that camera, you can introduce yourself to the people who are seeing you for the first time here on Tuko.
Okay, my name's Caroline Nyanga. I'm a child of God by His righteousness and a journalist by profession, a mother of 2, a third born in a family of 6, and a born-again Christian, like I said. Well, my life story, I have a very touching life story. I don't know where to start, but maybe you can allow me to mix English and Kiswahili for those who are not conversant with English. Yeah, so that they can be able to, understand what I'm saying. I was born way back, many years back, and I went to Lua Girls High School in Nyanza. That's where I did my Form 4, 844. And then from there, after my Form 4, I proceeded to India. And like many of you know, India is referred to as the center of the devil. I do not know why. Maybe due to their nature of worship, idols, statues, and stuff like that. I went there when I was 18 years old, and I met a man who I lived with as my boyfriend. That was my first boyfriend. He was a professional football player, a Kenyan playing professional football in India. Personally, I was a party animal, I remember. I used to go for big parties, even 3 days non-stop, 3 days in a pita sijui, but that is in the past. So like I said, when I went to India, I was young enough, and I studied 3 degrees within a span of 5 years. Public administration, political science, and psychology. And then my second degree was Bachelor of Journalism for a period of 1 year. And then Masters of Mass Communication in Journalism for another 1 year. So that was 5 years. So, being that young, by the time I was done, I was extremely young. But before I came to Kenya, I had a serious road accident. When I was about to come home, I used to see it happen to my friends, and I thought I used to watch it. Nilikuwa nafikiri ni kama drama, ni kama video too. But when it happened to me, it was very serious. So my mom was alerted, and my elder sister. So they came over to India. It was very sad news for them. So there I was admitted at India Private Wing for a period of 1 month. The doctors, I had broken my femur, my arm and stuff like that. I could hardly walk. So the doctors suggested that I undergo 12 blood transfusion, 12 pints of blood transfusion. And the IVs, of course, that were being given to me, water. And then the operation took 9 hours. So I remember my mom and my elder sister stayed in India for a period of 1 month, waiting for me to recover. So then, after the operation, my condition, stabilized. So ikabidi nirudi Kenya. Sasa nataka kuongea na kila mtu. Nikarudi Kenya na mama yangu na dada yangu. It was not easy for them. So by the time nifike airport, Jomo Kenyatta airport, kuna ambulance. My elder brother was a major, but ni daktari. So he arranged for an ambulance from Forces Memorial, I believe. Ikakuja hapo kwa airport to pick me up. Then nilipelekwa straight to the hospital. Manake condition yangu ilikuwa critical. hata kwa flight I had to occupy more. I could not sit vile watu wanakaa, so ilibidi ni occupy more than a seat. So it was not easy. So by the time I arrived in Masaba Hospital, I don't know that it's a ni hosi ya kitambo, mimi sijui vizuri sana. Nilipelekwa huko. So it was not easy. When I got there, I met a lady. She was critically ill, a mama, an elderly mama. So this mama prayed for me. She was a Kikuyu. She was very friendly. Hatujuani. But the fact that I was there and she was, alikuwa naona huyu mtoto ni mdogo, why is she here? You know, she prayed for me. 10 minutes later, she was dead. And that's when I realized, wow, kumbe Mungu ananipenda. So nikakau, I stayed there for, like I said, 5 months. And then finally, I went to Nairobi. Nikarudi Nairobi, I stayed there for some time. Then I was privileged to get a job with a media house, a popular media house at the time. I was among the best journalists in that media organization. I will not mention the name for security purposes, but anyway, it's okay. Now, I was I was actually privileged to interview a number of musicians locally and abroad. There were so many musicians, comedians, actors, actresses. Even though sometimes I suffer from loss of memory because of the things I've been through, you know, the witchcraft and stuff like that. But I can remember, like if we talk about musicians, local musicians, we have so many little musicians and Kikuyus and stuff. But just mention a few. Like the ones I interviewed were like, I think Musa Jakadala was one of them, Emma Jalamo, Prince Inda. I remember at the time when I was, what can I say? I elevated some of their careers. Kina Mzee Ojuang, I remember when he passed on, you know, Makayai, so many people, I cannot remember. But virtually anything to do with entertainment, I used to be assigned to interview them. And among the few stories that I did, okay, internationally, I've met with people like Kina Kofi Olomide, Pali Pupa, Werason, Nigerian musicians.
Artists, yeah.
I don't remember some of them. During my tenure as a Standard, I met a man. This man, at the time I was living somewhere within Nairobi. I met him, sikuwa namtaka. I hope people will be able to be conversant with my Kiswahili. Sikuwa namtaka at the time, kindly bear with me. Sikuwa namtaka at the time, but for some reason, I just ended up with this man. I do not know how and why. I used to meet him, but for some reason, I don't know what happened. Maybe in his forces too, I don't understand. The reason I'm saying forces, because maybe I'll tell you my story later. So, I met this man in that particular estate when I was working with this media house. And then one thing led to another. We came together as one. I remember my mom was not very happy about it, but it is okay. Ukishaamua umeamua, you know, kama you tutaki kujua. I don't know what I was getting myself into. So I lived with this man for a period of more than 10 years. At the time, I remember he used to drink a lot. He was literally a drunkard. Alikuwa anakunywa from morning to evening. And then, alikuwa tu vita all the time. Hatukuwa tunakopa vizuri na huyu jamaa. Ilikuwa tu ni shida. They used to call me CNN, Caroline Nyanga Network, because of due to my wide network of, you know, doing interviews for various musicians. One of my colleagues gave me the name Network, CNN. Now nikienda hapo kwa ofisi watu wananiuliza CNN nini mbaya. Naambia niko na shida mingi sana. So nikikuja home sina hiyo peace of mind, sina furaha at all because ilikuwa tu war, vita mingi sana at the time, I mean most of the times. So one thing led to another. Nikakuwa mgonjwa at some point, critically ill. Nikienda hospitali hakuna kitu inaonekana. So in between nikipata mimba, hii story I have not told it to anybody. As in, I think maybe during a talk show, but to my family members, it's going to be the first time when I hear my brothers and sisters and many other people, even the man that I was living with at the time. Hakuwa najua ya kwamba na miskari. Yani nikipata mtoto inatoka. I have 2. I lost 4 kids. Sikuwa najua nini nanifanya. Maybe I thought mimi ndio niko na shida ama my womb has a problem. This media house that I was working with, I was assigned to go and interview a witch doctor. People were scared, but I was daring. Me and my colleague, so we went. When I got into the witch doctor's den, I remember it was within an estate within Eastlands. So, when we went there, the witch doctor actually akatuliza, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure? And I said, I'm sure.
The interview now.
Yeah, the interview now, the witch doctor. He said, are you sure you want to talk to the evil spirits? Because when you go to a witch doctor, you have to talk to evil spirits. Because he's employed by by the evil spirits. He's an employee, sort of, you know. Mababu. In Kiswahili wanaitwa mababu. So mganga ni mfanyikazi wao. So he told me, are you sure you want to do this? And I said, I'm sure. So he told me, go back for another 1 week, come back if you're ready. We went back. Came back with my colleague. I will not mention his name because he's late. Photographer. So we went back, and I was sure this time around that I wanted to do this. So the first thing that this witch doctor showed us, it was, like I said, he had a big den. Very big den. So inside the den, there were 7 pots full of blood. You understand? And big, you know, these straws that we use to take sodas, it's in Indogo. Huge straws. You know, there were 7. Like I said, 7 pots of blood with huge straws zilikuwa hapo. So nikauliza, what are these for? Akaniambia, hii ni chakula ya mapepo, mababu. I didn't quite understand. So mimi nikasema, mimi nataka kuwaongelesha. You know, I was eager. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Then he showed us some briefcases. Sort of like briefcases. I don't know how to call them. Hizi sanduku ndogo ndogo. I don't know how to call them in English. Yeah, they had money. Millions. As in, thousand not imejaa kwa masanduku. You know, the tithe and the offering that you give in church cannot be compared to what goes to the witch doctor.
Yeah.
The money was too much. That's what I saw. That's what I learned. So nikamuliza akaniambia, ini the bill. Offering sacrifices are given to mababu. Nikasema, okay, no problem. Because at the time I had money. I also wanted to mention that at the time I had money. I had so many plots, I had vehicles, and I had millions. So for me, I was okay. It was just, everything was just okay. When she told me about that, I was like, okay, no problem. So we went there, and then this witch doctor asked us again to go inside. Now you know, there's a outside. Now that was outside. Now inside the den, we had to get inside with my colleague. So we walked into the den with my colleague, I remember, and he had to entice the evil spirits. Now,
how was he enticing the evil spirits?
He was using incense. No, incense. Incense.
The burning incense.
Burning incense. And then chanting rituals. As he burns the incense, he anachant rituals. Alafu anachukua handbell. He has a handbell. Anashake. So when chanting rituals and burning incense and using the handbell, entice the evil spirits. So it took a while. Now this man, at some point, he just went quiet after doing that. I don't know what happened. He was not talking to us anymore. So I think these people overpowered him. They were coming from various places. I do not know where they were coming from, but I managed to speak to them later, and then I'll be able to let you in on where they are coming from. So this man, after this witch doctor, it took about an hour. I remember losing my memory at some point, and my colleague also lost his memory. So these spirits were coming. I think they're in the process of coming, having been enticed. But, you know, they're spirits, so I think they were coming and then maybe taking this blood and then going wherever they're going, where they're supposed to go, where they've been assigned to go. So finally, after about an hour, these spirits, evil spirits, were able to come. As they come in, you can actually feel their presence. There was total darkness. You know, mapepo ni giza. There was total darkness. So, as they were coming in, there was darkness, and then we could actually feel their presence. We were not at ease at all with my colleague, I remember. So the first one, the first one comes, you know, like somebody who has been locked in a well, a hole, and then that sound is so strange. I've never experienced such a sound in my life before, but the first one came. Actually they were all men. Sikuona mwanamke, sikusikia sauti ya mwanamume hapo, ni walikuwa wanaume wote. The first one came. As he drops, you know, there's a sound, I don't know how to explain it. There's a sound of a bell. I don't know. He comes and then he drops. Alafu anasema mwanangu niko hapa. The first one. The second one. Third one. Fourth one. By the time the fifth one was coming, I lost my memory. Also, my colleague lost his memory. Then the sixth one came, and the seventh one. When the seventh one came, they were able to restore back our memory. I don't know how they did. You know, these are spirits. So, they told me, like, I can see you've been waiting for us, but you are busy. They were talking Kiswahili sanifu, si Kizungu. Hawasemi Kizungu, Kiswahili sanifu kabisa. You were waiting for us, but tulikuwa busy, tulikuwa tunaenda ngambo kuvuta wale ambao wamekwama. So I'm like, ngambo? How? Akaniambia, you know, ukienda na ndege mnachukua 7 hours or even more. But we are spirits. Once tumeshachukua hiyo dhabihu, it takes 5 minutes. I'll go to America, I'll go to UK, I'll go to any country, Canada, whatever. Mali nimeasainiwa. Then I'll be able to get inside that person, into that person, and then bring him back home. That's why you see there are people who disappear for years and then all of a sudden they come back. Dhabihu zimetolewa. Of course, Kenyans do it a lot, but they will not admit. The amount of sacrifices that are made to the witch doctor's den or to the evil spirits are more than what is done in church. That is the truth. So, but they will not accept it. Now, then they told me, do you want to speak to your late dad? And I said, no. They
by this time,
they were asking me. I lost my dad, you know, many years ago. My dad was also one of the veteran journalists at one of the media houses where I worked. So I told them there's no connection between the living and the dead. So I remember after that, I was traumatized. Then they continued talking, and they are very good at quoting Bible verses. They know. Remember, the devil was also a spirit at some point. So, an angel at some point. Yeah. So, we spoke, we had a long conversation. Then after that, I asked them, where do you come from? And they told me that wanatoka baharini, wanaishi baharini, oceans, Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean. I don't remember the other oceans that they mentioned, but there were 5. They come from there. Once you entice them, they will live there, go where they've been assigned, come, take the whatever, and then go where they've been assigned. Of course, you cannot see them because they are spirits. So I said, okay, no problem.
And by this time, Carol, a little bit, who are you speaking to, the spirits or this Muganga? The
spirits. It's the spirits that I'm talking to. Muganga went quiet, as in Muganga was overpowered. When the spirits came, he could hardly talk. He was not even moving. He was quiet. He was still. You know, like a dead man. So I was talking to these people. I got a car. I was talking to them. And then they told me, like, do not write anything bad about us, because you know where to get you. And I said, I cannot do that. And then they told me, don't worry. The story that you're about to write will break record, will sell copies like never before. And I said, no problem. So we spoke, and then my colleague requested if he could take pictures of them. And then they agreed. So he brought out his camera. It was a good camera. Took pictures. You know, as we were actually watching the camera, ilikuwa tu mfupa. Tunaona mfupa. You know, it didn't make sense. We tuko kwa giza, you take a picture, alafu unaona mfupa. Then after some time, they disappeared. Those things disappeared. You know, you can't take a picture of evil spirit and expect, you know. something is just, I don't know, something was amiss. So hizo pictures they disappeared. So my colleague was, you know, he was sort of like, you know, shocked. I was also in shock, but we kept quiet. So after talking to them, after finishing the interview with the evil spirits, now they were leaving. The same way that they came in is the same way they were going out now. Bell, blah, blah, blah. But this time there's no enticement because they've already been enticed. So they had to leave. Witch doctor, all of a sudden, he began talking to us. Then my colleague told the witch doctor, like, hizo mapicha zimepotea, the photos that we took. Then the witch doctor said, these are spirits. How do you expect to take the pictures and expect, you know? So shock on me, shock on this man. We stayed there for some time. In fact, at the time I was feeling ill. I was not okay. I mean, health-wise and everything. You know, you cannot talk to evil spirits and be okay. I even lost my memory. I felt like my memory, that's where my memory loss ilianza, by the way. We left there, and as we were going out, my colleague, I felt like I needed to go and see a pastor and talk to man of God, the nearest church I could get to. So I requested my colleague, I asked him if we could go with him, and he refused. He told me he was going to the office direct. So I left and I went to a pastor's. I went to one of the churches and I told the pastor that I've had an encounter with evil spirits. Kindly pray for me. So he prayed for me, and of course delivered me. Deliverance was done. And then he asked me about my colleague, and I said, amekataa, amesema naenda kwa ofisi. That story that I did sold, like I told you, copies, so many copies, like never before. One day as I was walking in town, I felt somebody touched my back. And when I turned to the witch doctor, he told me, Mapopo amefurahia story sana. I went for deliverance again. That was my second deliverance. So since then, I've been undergoing deliverance with almost 50-something men of God, 50-something pastors and churches, because it's not easy. So 6 months after our interview with the evil spirits, my colleague died. You understand? Because he never underwent any deliverance. You cannot talk to an evil spirit and expect to survive kama hujafanyiwa deliverance. It is impossible. These are evil spirits. So, alikuwa tu mgonjwa, akagonjeka. 6 months, he was normal. Me, I survived, but I had so many issues. At the time, I remember, I took a friend of mine from Ukambani to a witch doctor. You know, at that time, having spoken to them, I felt like, these are my friends. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So I took a friend of mine. She wanted sonko fulani, let me put it that way. So, sponsor. So we went together. Upon arrival at the witch doctor's den, of course, the same procedures. But now, what shocked me was that these evil spirits recognized me. They told me, tunakujua. So I was like, unanijua? Akasema, Mungu tulikutana mahali sasa uko hapa tena. So I was like, Jesus. Of course, this lady was told to give towards the bill fulani, sacrifices, offerings, whatever it is, a lot of money. It's about like 10K. And she was given medication, something like, I don't know what. It was, I don't know what it was, but there's something that she was given, and she was told to take this concoction, I think so, to put in the food of the person that he wanted. So, alipata huyu jamaa, but it didn't last for long because, you see, the enemy came to kill, steal, and destroy. So, I've not been in touch with her, but I know that it never lasted. My third encounter with the evil spirit, with the witchcraft, now, with the evil spirits, was when I met this man, like I said. A man who I lived with as my husband. I did not know that this man was an assistant witch doctor. This man, of course, he was a musician. later on, that's when he revealed that he was an assistant witch doctor, and that he has been working in cahoots with the witch doctor. This really shocked me. Of course, it affected my life. That's when I realized maybe that's why I had these miscarriages and stuff like that, and many sicknesses all the time. Vitu mingi sana. I went through a lot of challenges. Then this man brought a fellow witch doctor into our house. I didn't know this guy was a witch doctor. He used to come. I even gave him a room. Alikuwa analala huko. Now he used to leave this house and go. Every evening, my husband could accompany this man. Anampeleka, anapanda gari. Usiku tu around 6-7. Then he says he's going to work. So I was asking, hii ni job gani unafanya? Yakaniambia, anaenda kudumia watu mahali, anaenda tu job. Then one day in our house, he was able to entice evil spirits. That's when I realized kumbe huyu pia ni mganga. The evil spirits spoke to me. Of course, they were now conversant with me because it's not the first time I was meeting them. I remember a concoction that this witch doctor made and gave us to drink. I don't know, but later on I was made to understand that it was a mixture of mwili za wafu, sijui, na hizo mahali watu wanazikwa, hizo matope, mchanga ya kaburi. Alafu ana blend na mfupa za wafu, alafu anaziblend. Si tuliambiwa ni dawa, utapata mali. I wanted to add more money, to what I already have. Unajua binadamu hawatoshekangi na do. So when I heard that, I was excited. So tulichukua. So wale ambao tulichukua na hii dawa, wengine walifariki, mimi nikabaki tu. I think Mungu alikuwa anani protect. And I think also hizo pia zilifanya nikapoteza hizo miscarriages nilikuwa nazo, ni kwa sababu ya hizi vitu ambayo nilikuwa nimefanyiwa. Nilifelisika kabisa. Like I told you, I had these millions and the cars, plots, kila kitu zilipotea. I don't know how. But after my encounter with these witch doctors, and also learning that this person that I was married to, and he brought his fellow witch into our house. So I remember this witch doctor alikuwa anaenda huko job. Nikamuuliza naenda wapi? Akaniambia anaenda makaburi, anaenda kwa cemetery. I will not mention the name of the cemeteries because there's one popular cemetery alikuwa anaenda, but there are quite a number pia alikuwa anaenda kudumia watu. So nikamuuliza, hii jambo nafanya, hii cemetery iko na watu aina gani? Akaniambia nahudumia categories za watu tofauti. He refused to tell me at first, but after some time he opened up and was able to tell me. Prior to that, alinichanja. I don't know how to say that. Kwa mgongo mzima, nikawekewa madawa zingine, kwa mwili. So
nilikuwa anadunga na sindano.
Na chanjwa. That's why unaona pastors wanafanya deliverance, because kuna vitu waliweka kwa mwili yangu that have actually affected my life and even the way I look, among many other things. So like I said, alikuwa ananiambia anaenda huko kaburini and anahudumia watu tofauti. Nikamuuliza kina nani? Who are these people? Because I was curious as a journalist. Kanambia that category in youth, okay? And then the second category ni musicians. Third category, politicians. Then prominent businessmen and women. Unanielewa? That category alitaja. And pastors. That is the fifth category. So nikamuuliza procedure ni nini? Akasema wanalala katikati ya makaburi. Okay? Kisha wanapewa, anawapatia instructions. He is not the only witch doctor. There are quite a number. Wako wengi. So wanawaambia, they instruct them what to do. And then wanaendelea kupata mali. You get the point? So I was shocked. I was like, oh my goodness. Kumbe hizi vitu zinafanyika hapa Kenya na tujui. So that's why alikuwa natoka kwetu akienda makaburini kila usiku. Na hata mimi, at some point, aliniambia ninunue kuku kwa sababu I wanted more money. Kuku jogoo nikanunua. Then it drew the blood from the chicken and put in my system and took mine and the chicken, and they told me to throw the chicken away. Konde, I think it was initiating me. I was initiated unknowingly. That is what it happened, but I didn't know. At the time, I was totally confused, and I'd lost my memory. I didn't even know what I was doing at the time. So this went on. Kafika point, I said enough is enough. But before that, nikifanya na hii media organization, like I said, I was I was one of the best journalists, and I was versatile. So at the time, I was assigned to go and interview mortuary attendants and morticians. So I went to a hospital, a very popular hospital, I will not mention the name. There, because they noticed I was a bit scared, they locked me in with the dead. I remember. And I lost my memory. Then they came after some time, and they told me that nilikuwa na uoga, that's why walinifungia na maiti huko ndani kidogo, so that nisikue muoga. So I went for deliverance again. I remember I was mad at them. Of course, they told me the procedure, embalming the dead. These are not, they nurse the dead, morticians. They embalm, they wash, and many other things that are done. The way we have doctors or nurses who nurse, I'm a living being. The same procedure ambayo inatreatiwa nayo cannot be used to treat the dead. Dead have their own way. The dead have their own nurses who are called morticians. You get it? And we are nursed by I'm a living being, so we have our nurses who nurse us as a living being. So when I was there, after being locked in there, I was affected. Then I went back to pastor. They told me, don't ever go to a morgue again and to do such kind of interviews, usikubali. And then finally I went to a mortuary. I went to interview a mortuary attendant, not a mortician. A mortuary attendant is somebody who has not undertaken this course. He's just maybe a class 4 dropout for that matter. Alikuwa navuta bangi in Nyanza. I went there. This guy was dancing. As I went to interview him, he was dancing. I know everyone there is dead. Then he's telling me, you're the only one who's not dancing. Kila mtu hapa na dance. So I'm wondering, who are these guys who are dancing? And wanna dance. Then he was slapping them, the dead. When somebody's dead, you're naked, slapping the ladies at the time. Hi, anyango dance, atino dance. I'm like, this is a madman. Then after that, he told me, wanawake, mbona mnakwanga na maringo? Why do you feel sweet for us men? There's a lady who was brought here when her body was still warm, hot. And alikuwa anitingia, nilimalizana na yeye. That's what he told me. And I was like, Jesus, I'm dealing with a psycho. Then he told me, my dear, you're such a beautiful lady. Unataka nikudunga na madawa gani wakati Mungu atakuchukua? So I told him, let me go and get some credit narudi. Vile nilitoka, I could not stand. I was dealing with a psycho, so I left. And I told God, Mungu nisamehe. Other than that, I've been to so many churches, and I want to speak to the viewers that we need to be very careful. I'm not here to criticize anybody, but we're living in end times. The word of God tells us in the book of Revelation that during the end times, kutakuwa na manabii wengi wa uongo na wachungaji. I've been to so many churches, and they charge me 10,000, 30,000
for deliverance.
For deliverance. I don't think it should be freely. Jesus Christ paid he died on the cross for us. Why would you still ask me for 30K, 10K, 20K? I didn't know that I would lose millions, and I don't know. It's so frustrating. That time, I felt critically ill. When you're undergoing stress, when you're under stress, when you lose a lot of money, naturally you become stressed, and then most people take off. Hata marafiki zangu wote walinitoroka, majority. Ni mimi na Mungu, me and my God, and I thank God. But I believe there are good men, and there are good women out there, and men and women of influence. That's what that's how the Bible refers to them, as men and women of influence, destiny helpers and connectors. I believe they're out there. And I believe God can use anybody. God is no respecter of persons or men. I've been through so much. I lost all my friends. Even right now, if I call my friends, even the people that are interviewed, they don't pick my call. They don't. Sometimes there are times I go through a lot of, you know, frustration, and I feel like ending it all. But then God has been faithful. I don't know. I'm just trusting God. I know that our God is a living God. He's faithful, and He can use anybody to get to me.
Sure.
But my brother has been very helpful, my elder brother. But there's a limit to what anybody can do. Even my other siblings, we are 6, 3 boys and 3 girls. There's a limit to what they can do because they also have their families to take care of.
And priorities.
Personally, they have tried their best. But you see, hata mimi niko na shida zangu mingi sana. And my elder brother, like I said, amesimama na mimi sana. Amekuwa kama baba na mama. But you see, I don't think it is right because in a point, I also need to be, you know, be able to do things on my own. I used to do them, but not that I never used to. I used to do, but because I lost everything, I think it just dawned on my elder brother like, hey, sister yangu mdogo akona issue. Most journalists, we interview people. We are known to interview, but we don't tell our life stories. But find a journalist who has come out openly with her life story, you know, telling people what she's been through, like I have done, is not easy. It took courage, and I think it's God. It was time for me to just tell out, you know, talk to people, reach out to people out there. And I won't tell anybody who's going through the same situation like I went through, or like I am in right now, not to give up, because our God is faithful. With God, all things are possible. Whatever may seem impossible with man is always possible with God. God is a spirit. So He uses men and women of influence to come to our rescue. Mungu hawezi shuka kutoka mbinguni akuje hapa. Akishuka tutakufa sisi wote. Atatumia mwanamume ama mwanamke. God humbled me. I think this is why Mungu alikuwa anatumia njia ya kunihumble, kufanya nipoteze kila kitu ili nimrudilie, just like the story of Job. Job underwent a lot of things, but eventually Mungu restore back twice whatever he lost.
At what point do you and this assistant witch doctor break up and you leave this marriage?
It's been 7 years, almost 6.5, 7 years since we broke up. Yeah, 6 years when I broke up with this man. Actually, he went out. He traveled to a neighboring country, came back, and said that I'm not the right partner for him. After
staying for how long in marriage?
After staying for more than 10 years with this man in marriage. He said, mimi si, Mungu amemwambia mimi si.
Mungu amababu.
So unajua, amekuja na, I'm not in here to condemn anybody. Amekuja amesema, amepatia Mungu maisha yake, which is okay. Hiyo ni kati yake na Mungu. I'm not here to condemn anybody. Lakini alitoka akaniacha akaoa.
And when you're going through all this, wakati wanakuchanja, when they are transfusing your blood na ya kuku,
yes.
Why are your children the one that survived?
They were told to, you know, they were being locked somewhere like in a room. They were not allowed to see these things. You understand? They are not allowed to see these things for some reason. I do not know why. So they didn't even know. They didn't even know what was happening. They were not conversant with what was happening at all. They were just there. Walikuwa nafikiri ni mchezo ya paka na panya or something. But these things happen. These things happen, and it's very sad because it's very sad that mtu ambaye unakaa naye anaweza end up kukufanyia vitu halafu baadaye ndiye anasema kwamba yeye ni mganga, ana reveal. And maybe ametengeneza kati yake na Mungu, but hizi vitu ambao walinifanyia wangezitoa ingekuwa afadhali, but kama wameziacha, mapasi ndio sasa wanashughulika na mimi, wana struggle na mimi. Na hata kama umeokoka na unaomba na unajua mwenzako ushamfanyia mabaya, sikuja muombe msamaha, mwambie I'm sorry for what I did. But hakuna time mtu ameniambia pole for what I did. Na hakuna mtu amekubali ya kwamba nimefanyia mtu fulani hivi. Na hizo vitu walikuwa nafanya tukiwa nao kwa nyumba. Na God is my witness. I do not lie. I do not know how to lie. God aliona hizo vitu zote ambao walikuwa wamenifanyia na huyo mganga kwa nyumba yetu. But hakuna time mtu amepika akasema, oh I'm sorry nilikufanyia hivi. Ama wa reverse hiyo situation vile wanaifanya. Sijui. But like I said, I have no grudges. Nimeachia Mungu. What pains me is that sometimes I have to go through this struggle so much. Nipata a lot of stress. Hata my brothers and sisters wanashangaa. My sister was well off. Nilikuwa nafanya show kwa clubs. Like I told you, nilikuwa napata profit ya $500,000 per night. $500,000. If I take musicians, especially the low musicians, the big wigs, the big names, if I host them in a club in one of the estates, I would get a profit of $500,000. So I would do 2 concerts in a month. That is $1 million. How this money disappeared, I do not know. How the cars I had disappeared, I do not know. How I fell ill to the point of almost dying, I do not know. And passes wananiambia kwamba waliniweka paka spirit of rejection. There's a time all my friends walini reject what? All of them. What have I done wrong?
Other colleagues.
Even my colleagues walini reject too. I do not blame them because in spirit ambayo nilirushiwa mimi. So passes wana struggle kunitolea hii rejection, but God is faithful. I think God allows some of these things to happen to humble us and to prepare us for extraordinary services for His glory, and also to draw us closer to Him. Because mimi sikuwa najua Mungu, and I never used to. I used to take God things for granted. Hizi vitu za Mungu nilikuwa nazichukua tu hivi hivi. But I have learned that we need to put our trust in God, because Mungu ndiye anaamrisha men and women of influence. If God does not touch anybody, hawezi guswa na waweze kunisaidia. It's only God who does this. And mimi naongea kama journalist and as a child of God, and also as a mother. Anybody ule anaweza reach out, itakuwa sawa.
When you were introducing yourself,
yes,
you told us that your mom used to work in a very reputable organization.
Yes.
So someone who's watching might assume that you are a cool kid that came from a rich family. So after starting to lose your property,
yes,
why couldn't you go back home?
To my mom? My mom lost her job. Yeah, she was working with a very reputable organization, but she lost her job. And she was diagnosed with so many sicknesses. My mom is one person, is a very strong woman, my late mom. Alipatikana na mtu mmoja tu, alikuwa epileptic, alikuwa na cancer of the uterus, alikuwa na kidney failure, alikuwa na liver failure, alikuwa na high blood pressure, alikuwa epileptic. Hizo magonjwa zote zilikuwa kwa mtu mmoja mom. So hata kuweza fanya, ilifika point sasa ni sisi ndio tunaangalia mom, especially my elder brother. So unajua hii nini ya mama ili drain pesa mingi sana, treatment ya mom. Hizo magonjwa zote nimekumentionia, the terminal, the big wigs, like ilifanya. That time I was taking care of her while alikuja hapa Nairobi. My brother alimleta, my elder brother. But then she died. Alikufa shortly after that, almost nikikaa naye for 1 month. After 1 month she died. Alipelekwa hospitali hapa Nairobi na akakufa. So hizo mom, hiyo ugonjwa li drain mom, akajobika, ibidi awache kazi. At the time also dad passed on. So there are a lot of things that we went through. So mi mwenyewe after kupoteza hizi vitu, so mom pia walikuwa wanajaribu kustruggle na mimi, but inafika point pia amepoteza job na hizo maugonjwa zote. So it is now the watoto wa mom ndio tena wanamwangalia. So ilifika tu, ilikuwa ngumu sana. Though mama alikuwa na sympathize na mimi, ananiangalia, anasikia vibaya sana, but now ishafanyika.
And now that you lost your job and you lost your property,
yes,
who was facilitating your kids' lifestyle, school, basic needs?
You know, I had some savings that nilikuwa naweka kidogo kidogo. So that's what nilikuwa najaribu kufacilitate now watoto, but inafika point mimi sasa sina uwezo. Unapata tu my elder brother Dusha has to come in, pia yako na jukumu zake na familia, friends once in a while, but sana sana my elder brother amesimama na mimi sana, even my elder sister, unanielewa? But there's a limit to what they can do. Like I said, saizi maisha pia imekuwa ngumu. Of course kuna wale Mungu amebariki. I'm not here to say that kila mtu anapitia magumu. Kuna wale pia wanaishi tu maisha mazuri, but I'm not here to condemn anybody or to judge anybody, but it's not been easy. So our watoto pia ni Mungu ndiye anawaangalia. Me, that's what I can say. Ni Mungu tu ndiye amewalinda. Manake without God, Mungu ingia kwa moyo wa watu wawasaidie, ingekuwa ngumu sana. Ingekuwa ngumu sana. Yes, that's what I can say.
Do you regret anything?
Yes, I regret a lot of things in life. History ya majenzi na waongelesha, history ya kumitu mtu na hujamjua vizuri background yake, tafadhali muache. History ya sijui, you know, umepata mpenzi ama the love of your life. Hata wamama wakubwa na waongelesha, na watu wengine, hata my youth, you know, hata anybody unataka kuolewa ama kuoa, tafadhali jua, what can I say, fanya research yako kuhusu huu jamaa ama huu dem ambaye unataka kuoa ama vice versa. Usirush into marriage. Na usiache mapenzi ikulead sana, yani ifanye feelings zako paka uwezi sikia kile unaambiwa. Seek God. Wakati kuna mchumba ama unataka kuoa mtu, jiulize Mungu, because in every situation God has something to say. Jiulize Mungu anasema nini katika situation yako. By praying and fasting if possible. Don't rush into relationships. Unaona kama mimi I was swayed. Nilikuwa tu hapo, niko young, you know, but now angalia vile maisha yangu imekuwa. There's a time I started bleeding, like I told you. I bled witchcraft. Niliambiwa ni witchcraft, manake man of God ndiye aliniambia kwamba ni witchcraft. I went to outside Kenya. I can just mention, but I will not mention the name of the pastor. I went to Uganda for prayers. He's a very anointed man of God. Alinifanyia maombi. And before that, he traced the root cause of my problem to when I met this man. If I calculated, ikakuja tu when I met this man. Nilikuwa navuja damu, bleeding for 5 months non-stop. Not 5 days, I'm talking about 5 months. On a daily basis. I'm telling you, doctors suggested that my uterus be removed and a lot of things, and I refused. This man of God prayed for me, laid his hand on me and prayed for me, and the bleeding stopped instantly. I could not believe it. When I came back to Kenya, the bleeding came back after 1 month. But 4 days, regulated, not 5 months, the way it used to be.
Carol, do you think the day you went to the first day you went to the witch doctor's place to interview, when he was enticing the mababu, do you think that was the root of everything? Maybe that is the reason why even this assistant witch doctor
Yes, thank you for that question. Because that was the first step. Huh? You know, after interviewing those evil spirits, I took a friend of mine. I just happened to take this friend of mine. I found myself taking her. You understand? Third step, I found myself with this assistant witch doctor. Fourth step, he brought another witch doctor. So it was, I think that was the root cause of everything. Talking to them, and then once you had an encounter with them, they'll always come, find a way into your life. So now, what affected me most was when I met this man, because of the things that he did. You know, the other places, they were just enticing, right? But it was not the treatment that was given to me, the medication that was, like I told you, made of so many scary things for me to take and stuff like that.
Drink
exactly.
Bodies.
So I think they went deep, and that's the chicken, you know, throwing the chicken's blood into me, mine into the chicken, you know. They went, theirs was extreme. They actually, I had an encounter with evil spirit, but this time I was initiated. Now when I met this man, they actually initiated me. Yeah. So it went deep, much deeper. And that has really affected my life. Because I believe if it was not for this, these are my evil spirits, and these are my witch doctors, my life would be totally different. Yes.
Wow. Before we close this interview, maybe looking at that camera, you can speak to anyone who is watching and might like to reach out to you, and also you can share your number if you're comfortable.
Okay.
You've also mentioned that you have a YouTube channel.
Okay.
You can also mention the name so that they can go there and subscribe, and maybe watch what kind of content you're doing over there.
Okay. Kama jinsi nilivyosema, I'm a journalist. Naomba kwamba mkiweza kusubscribe YouTube channel yangu, iko, ukienda kwa YouTube imeandikwa Caroline Nyanga Network, as in CNN. Caroline Nyanga Network. Kindly subscribe, watch and share for the glory of God. That was my first interview nilikuwa nafanyiwa nikiwa kwa media house, not knowing that the person that I'm living with is also a witch doctor. So, because assistant and witch ni same kitu, birds of the same feather, na near flock together. So, naomba msubscribe ikiwezekana. Nitashukuru Mungu sana for the glory of God. Na anybody who has been through a situation ambayo nimepitia pia mimi, don't give up. Mungu yupo. Be strong. Hata mimi mwenyewe, unajua ni vigumu sana kupata journalist ambaye amepitia haya mateso, kusimama na kuwaongelesha. Wengi huwa wanapotea kwa drug, alcohol, ama wengine wanajiua hata kujua. Lakini mimi niko hapa kuambia tu ya kwamba Mungu anaweza. There's nothing too hard for our God. Mungu ni mwaminifu sana, na tutegemee Mungu, tuendelee kunini Mungu. Apart from that, pia ningeomba anybody ambaye anaweza ku reach out to me, tashukuru sana. It is not by my might or strength. Ni vile tu Mungu atakuongelesha ama atashika moyo wako. It is not a must, but if you feel like you can reach out to me, tashukuru sana. Manake, I remember vile pia mimi nilikuwa na mali, nilikuwa nasaidia wengi. I forgot to mention that. I used to reach out to so many people. Hata kwa kanisa pia. But saizi sina chochote. Kile niko, yani sina kazi. Na unajua, there's a limit to what family members wanaweza fanya. Pia wako na jukumu zao, wako na challenges zao. Na akisiezi wategemea, manake the Bible tells us amelaniwa anayetegemea binadamu. What I want to say is that kama Mungu anaweza shika roho ya mtu ambaye anaweza reach out to me, nitashukuru sana. Whatever it is, it does not matter. Hata kama mtu anaweza kuwa na platform ya kazi pia, itakuwa sawa tu. Mimi ni mtu nimesoma, niko na madegree zangu, lakini ziko tu hapa kwa hao. Mapasi wananifanyia deliverance bado, lakini najua Mungu ashatenda. Our God is faithful. So, maybe my number.
Yeah, you can share your number.
So maybe I can share my number with you. Kama you can reach out, nitashukuru sana. 0724 58 44 43. In the number man unaweza reach out to me.
You can repeat again, just for clarity.
0724 58 44 43. Mungu awabariki sana. And nawapenda sana. God bless you abundantly.
Amen. Yes. And apart from deliverance, have you tried therapy? Because the things you went through are very traumatizing.
There's a friend of mine ule amejaribu kunipeleka huko, but being a spiritual issue, you know, there are things that doctors cannot. Wanasema it's beyond them. These are spiritual in a dealing to na spiritual, because as much as I've tried all that, but it's not working. It's not working. I don't know. Watu kuna vile wali mess na maisha yangu. So inahitaji tu hiyo spiritual, yani spirit inachapana na spirit. I don't know how to put it, but that's what pastors wanasema. Wanasema unaweza enda hospitali, ndio utaenda, nishaenda, but still imeshindikana. It's just spiritual. So unapata ya kwamba pasi wana struggle sana na mimi sana. That even wanted to go to Nigeria to Joshua Selman, but sijapata hiyo opportunity, but nikipata nitaenda tu. Or any other. I believe tuko na mapasi wazuri sana hapa Kenya pia. Nikipata tu ule mzuri, of course pasi wangu ni mzuri. Vile nilisema huyu amesimama na mimi sana. Hata kutoka hapa itakuwa ni shida. Maybe naweza enda tu huko as a by the way kama kuna crusade or something. But my pastor ambaye niko naye kwa sasa, ambaye anaitwa Mwangi, John Mwangi, ako hapo Choka Russia's Life Church. Kopoa sana. Unajua mimi ni mgeni huko, sijakaa hapo for long. But that man of God and the wife amenionyesha love sana. Deliverance, kama ni kusaidia saa zingine, imagine wanaweza nitumia tu pesa, hata kama ninunue kitu kidogo. Hata during Christmas I remember walitoa saa Mungu angado wakaniambia enda nayo kwa nyumba. It's not easy.
Okay.
It's not easy.
Ni vizuri.
But tunashukuru Mungu.
Amen. Thank you for trusting us with your story.
Amen.
And we are also hoping that to anyone who is watching, they can come to your aid and help you in any way that they may be helped by God to help you. And we wish you a quick recovery. And may the pastor who is helping you through the deliverance journey manage to deliver you fully from whatever you are initiated from.
But he told me it's going to take time. It's not a one whatever.
Okay.
It's a process.
But eventually it will happen.
It will happen. It will. Taisha.
Wow. And to you, our viewer, thank you for sticking with us up to this point of this episode today. And as usual, I'm waiting to see your comments to hear what you have learned from today's episode. And also make sure that you check out Carol's YouTube channel on the pinned comment below, and also her number. Maybe if you want to call her or reach out to her for any kind of help she might be needing. Until next time, my name is Njermasi. Just keep it Tuko.